freaky friends. This is Colleen.
And this is Margaret.
And we're the Cousins Weird. Hello.
We're back together again.
Together again. Together forever.
Together at last. Together forever.
Is that how it goes?
It's Annie.
Da, 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 do.
Anything
but you.
Sorry to hear our horrible
That's
voices.
okay. I think it was great.
Annie was my favorite musical as a kid because I wanted to be Annie.
I know. And then I made you be the dog.
Yep. I
made Margaret be the dog. We used to play it here.
Because it was Connie's house.
Yeah.
It was her record. And she's like, well, it's my house, so I have to be Annie. But I have red hair, Colleen. I don't care. I'm still Annie. Okay, you can be the dog. Okay, because I had to be with you.
Yeah.
So I was okay with that.
You were. You were like,
sure.
okay.
I'll be Sandy.
I was
okay.
mean.
I don't think you made me. I think I said, I'll be Sandy then.
Probably.
Because,
we never really.
Because we had to be together.
Yeah.
I'd be the dog.
And then Renee was always Molly.
Yes, because she was little with brown hair and bangs. Yeah.
Oh my god, we had so much fun playing that.
It made Jessica
Remember?
Hannigan.
Yes! Remember the one part where she's sitting in the window singing and I'd sit on the back of the couch and pretend I was in the window?
I thought you sit on the steps.
No. I sat on the back of the couch.
Yeah.
I probably done many places.
I remember running up because that was when she's at the end and the railroad tracks are in the air.
Oh yeah, that's in the air. That was the steps.
We acted out everything.
We did.
Kids. We had so much fun.
And I had the soundtrack, the album, so we put that on and we'd act out all
the
parts.
vinyl.
The vinyl.
Because yes, we're that old.
And it wasn't because we were trying to be retro and like cool. It's because that's all there was.
That's all there was.
That's all we had to listen to.
We had the Muppet Show on vinyl. We had Michael Jackson's Thriller on vinyl. We had the Cabbage Patch Kids songs on. We had Strawberry Shortcake.
We had Mini Pops, which was one of our favorites, which is like those ones now that are out. Those kids Pop. It's like Kids Bop, but it was like when we were kids, and it was a record.
I think it was better. Mini Pops were better because they were like montages.
Yeah,
the ABBA montage was the best.
Fantastic.
Oh, and we listened to Chipmunk Punk too.
Yep, and Chipmunk Country
and Chipmunk Punk.
Mm-hmm. We love those.
Yep.
We had a good range of things. And we always that's what we did.
And then Lee had a bunch of Kiss records.
Yeah. But that's what we did. We got together and we would act out the things we loved in the music.
At my house, we had the Jungle Book. Mm-hmm. And that was a record that was a picture on both sides.
Oh, yeah, that was so cool.
I bet my parents still have it. I might actually have it.
You might have it. It might be in your house.
In that old coffin-style record player that we used to have. Yes. It's in the cellar.
I remember listening to...
There was the Devil in the
Iron
Blue
Butterfly?
Dress. Yes.
Yes, your father had Iron Butterfly.
Yes, Aqualung. We listened to that forever. And the Devil with the Blue Dress on and Pretty Woman from Roy Orbison. That was my God. Favorite.
You loved Pretty Woman.
I loved that
Very
song.
good. Roy Orbison's awesome.
He is.
So you had good taste. Our lives were surrounded... Really, everything we've done is surrounded by, like, music. We always had some kind of... Or performing something. So this is like, being a podcast is probably... We should have done this years ago.
We should have. We should have done it at the dawn of podcasts.
Yeah.
We didn't know. I was more like, I'm listening to music in the car. And then when I started aesthetic school and I was driving to Syracuse every day, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
You're in the car for an hour and 12 minutes one way. You get you need something a little more. I got to a point where I needed something a little more than music to occupy my brain.
Yes.
And I discovered the Buffering the Vampire Slayer podcast, which you should listen to that if you like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And the hosts, one of them is Jenny Owen Youngs, and that's actually how I found that podcast because she's one of my more favorite singing artists, and we call her Joy, Jenny Owen Youngs.
Oh, I've listened to some of that because you played it for me.
Because she's a singer, every episode she would write a song about the episode, and every episode is about a Buffy episode. So they're amazing. Season 1 is amazing, and you should listen to that album just for those songs because they're freaking awesome. If you were into Buffy.
Yeah. Right now I'm watching or listening to Undressing, which they talk about every episode of Bridgerton. They go through every episode and talk about everything to do with it, and it's comical and it's
we are not sponsored by these.
No.
But we would love to be sponsored by them. So,
I don't know.
Reach out to us.
Do podcasts sponsor each other?
They do.
They can talk about us on their show. We're talking about you. You should talk about us.
For sure. I mean, I like Scott Patterson's I'm All In. He plays Luke on the Gilmore Girls. He has a podcast because he like said that he never watched the show. It made him feel weird. But because we're so far away from it now,
he's able to do it.
He's like, the show is so good. I'm like, yeah, you were in it, you dumbass.
You don't know, I think, until you watch it, right?
But I like that podcast is fun because he like talks about like he's like a new fan. He's like a super fan of the show. Like decades later, he's like, I was in it. It was great. I didn't realize how great it was. I'm like, we did. We were. Oh my
god! Yes, loved it.
It's my comfort show.
That's kind of like one of those things. Like I never used to want to hear my own voice. Mm-hmm. But I like did lives on Facebook when I started doing that, or even see myself in pictures. But I started doing lives on Facebook and like doing more and like being okay with getting my picture taken. The more I heard myself, the more I saw myself, the more I liked myself. If that makes any sense. Yeah. It's like you hear yourself talk, and there's sometimes when I'm editing this podcast where I'm just like, I hate myself. Every once in a while, you're just like, what the frick is wrong with me? Why would I even say that? But for the most part, like exposing yourself to how other people see you and hear you will make you like not hate yourself anymore. You're like, oh, it's not that bad. Like you kind of get used to it.
Yeah. My voice is, I like my voice. It feels kind of like a cartoon character.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I like my voice, but I don't hate it anymore. Yeah. So
I've never hated your voice because
Well, I never hated yours either. But I hated my own, and I always thought
my favorite voices to hear.
And sometimes I can tell, like I'm like really excited about stuff. I talk really, really fast, and Richard's like, "You gotta slow down."
It's like you write how you talk.
Yes.
Like when Colleen writes, she's
Scribble.
very bubbly letters, and it's like one whole
word. Big long word sentence.
Yeah, it's like there's no spaces here, Colleen.
No.
You kind of talk like that
sometimes.
I do. There's no
They all just go together. So I'm really working on that, friends, on slowing down how I speak so I can say things correctly and not so together.
And I write like a chicken. If somebody gave a chicken a pencil and told it to write, you could probably read it better than my handwriting.
All right. Are we ready?
Yeah. How many minutes did we just banter?
We bantered for 7 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
I like it. So today we're going to talk about the Eastern State Penitentiary.
Ooh.
This has a very interesting history, and it's in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and its doors opened in 1829. It was part of this really controversial movement that was happening at the time where they wanted to change inmate behavior and the way the justice system was being done. There was a lot of overcrowding in prisons, corporal punishment, all this stuff happening, and they were like, I really think, and Benjamin Franklin was part of this development. I mean, it was many years after they talked about this that it opened, but this is where it kind of came from. It was a Quaker-style confinement with isolation and labor as the main thing. So being in solitude and honest work would help you see your wrongs of your ways.
What if you're not a Quaker?
They didn't matter. It was a Quaker style. It was the thing Quakers said. I'm like, if you're going to base it upon any kind of religion or whatever, it's probably not a good idea. Because it's not going to work for everyone. It is one of the most expensive buildings ever made at the time, and it was the most copied building in the United States.
Crazy.
Because it was very revolutionary, like their design was. And their whole principle and thought process of why they did this. The architect who designed the building, his name was John Haviland. He was a British who settled in Pennsylvania. And there was a bunch of different architects that put forth through the Pennsylvania Criminal Justice Society, I believe it was, their plans. And he's the one that won. With the idea of the solitude will make a criminal regretful and penitent. So that's where penitentiary came from. They'll spend that time in themselves with nothing else to do but think about what they've done, basically. Yeah. So it's like your kid getting time out. Like, you sit there and think about what you did. Well, that doesn't work, because if you're not talking to them about what they did and why they shouldn't do it, or the reason why, does it really help? No, they're just sitting there and they get up and do the same thing over again. So it doesn't really work.
Well, I have a kid, like, honestly, my middle child, who's my most emotional child, who's the most like me, we'll just leave that there. And she gets so worked up she's unreasonable.
Right.
And I tell her, you need to go and sit down on your bed and just lay there until you feel better and you can talk to me.
Right.
And not be rude.
Well, that's different.
Yeah, but that's not like, it's not like I have to tell you when you get up. It's like, it's up to her.
When you're ready,
like,
yeah.
She needs to get herself together.
Yes.
And then she can come talk to me, but just to talk to me in not a rude way. She'll be up there for an hour. Stewing and getting angry. She's up there.
Getting herself going.
Yeah, she's like, don't talk to me. You just stay there until you're ready, because I don't want to talk to you either.
So they created these masks, or like hood-like masks, that were worn when the occurrence may happen, like when very rare occurrence happened, that they had to leave their cells. The cells had feed doors on them and individual exercise yards that would minimize the contact with guards and inmates. So you're really just alone. There's no talking to the guards. There's nothing like that. So you're silent solitude. Can you imagine?
I can't.
And
that would make it worse. I think it would drive people to insanity.
Right. This early system was really strict, and they felt that the prisoner exposed in silence to thoughts of behaviors and ugliness of their crimes would become genuinely penitent. So they really felt like this would make them really see the error of their ways, and then they'll come out transformed and reformed and ready to be a productive member of society. That was what they thought this was going to do. So the building itself was 7 cell blocks originally that radiated around a like observatory rotunda. So think of the sun in the middle of the sun, and then the rays coming off. If a kid drew it, kind of looked like that. It kind of looks like that. And there were 7 cell blocks. It actually was opened like 3 years before it was finished. They only had a few cell blocks at the time, and they eventually went to 7. And then they end up, as time goes on, and I'll talk about it, they build more and more on. So the 7 cell blocks, like I said, radiated out from the rotunda, and each prisoner had a private cell, central heating, with running water and a flushing toilet. And there was a skylight in every cell for light. That was the light that they had.
Basically, you got daylight, and in the winter you froze to death with no light in the dark.
But thankfully, they did have central heating. This is the most modern building of its time. The White House didn't even have running water then, or central heating. They were still using coal-burning stoves to heat the White House. So it was like really cool. Like everyone was like wanted to see it. In the vaulted cell, the prisoners had only, and this is their words, not mine, okay? They only had the light from heaven, because the skylight, the Bible, and honest work to lead them to penitence.
What kind of honest work were they doing? If
they were making, they were weaving baskets and making shoes and stuff. It's very odd.
It is odd.
But, you know.
Okay.
The inside of the jail, of the prison, really looks like a church. Lots of vaulted ceilings, rounded, like, windows, very church-like inside. The outside, however, was in a Gothic style. It's very, and I post pictures, you're going to see, it's very intimidating from the outside because they wanted it. They didn't want people to think, oh, I want to go there. They wanted people to be afraid. Even though they were saying that they weren't going to do any kind of, corporal punishment in there, they wanted to look like it. You get hurt if you walked in the door.
Yeah.
They want it to look like that.
Now, sometimes psychological punishment is worse than physical.
For sure. I think so, too. So there are more than 300 prisons in South America, Europe, Russia, China, Japan, and the British Empire that were based off this plan. So all sorts of people were coming from other parts of the world to see the Eastern State Penitentiary because it was like something no one ever seen before.
Right. The size and the
size,
central heating.
The style, the size, the way they ran it with the solitary and all that stuff. It was all like new. And so all these people from different countries were coming over and like, I have to see this. I want to see this.
Does it work? You need to do this at our...
Exactly.
Where we're from.
Tourists in the 1930s and 40s would travel there just to see the architecture because it was like the biggest building. And it was the most expensive building of the time and the most modern, technically.
What year did they come?
Like the 30s and 40s. They were traveling.
1830s
and 40s.
1830s. That's nuts.
Isn't that crazy?
They had central heat in the 1830s.